In those early sessions, we really looked at really national innovation and what can happen at the organizational level, structural level with companies. And now in this afternoon, we want to move into a more personal level. What can you do to be a leaner leader at a personal level? And to do that, it is going to be a pleasure to invite out our next speaker. Cheri Tree is a best-selling author, professional keynote speaker, executive business coach, world-renowned sales trainer, and entrepreneur. She's the founder and CEO of BANKCODE with clients in more than 40 countries worldwide. I note that is 21 more countries than are here today. So she kicks the butt of the NBF. Well done, Cheri. She's lectured at Harvard, at UC Berkeley, and she's considered the #1 personality sales trainer in the world. She has spoken to hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs and sales professionals globally. Today, the pleasure of some VIPs as well. She has shared the stage with icons, and it's a great list, such as Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Susie Orman, Les Brown, Sir Richard Branson, and now, and I know this is probably the greatest honor of them all, Pep Rosenfeld. Please. Welcome to the stage. Go post-lunch crazy for Cheri Tree.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here. I just flew in from California yesterday. It's a lot colder here, but I'm happy to be here. I love the Nordic region. It's beautiful. What I'm going to share with you today is a concept on what I call BUYology, spelled B-U-Y-ology, the science of buying behavior. And I want to share with you how, when applied in the work, in the sales process, and internally and externally in your companies, how you can experience monumental growth, as well as leading lean, shortening sales cycles, etc. So I want to go ahead and just get right into it. Pat gave me a wonderful introduction, and so I just want to say thank you for that. You know, the concept that I bring to the world is what I would call one world, one language. And if we have the slides up here, there they are right behind me. The idea of this is that we live on a planet with 7 billion people, and there's 6,500 languages that are spoken around the world today. But there's only one language that connects the entire human race together, and that is a values-based language. And today I'm going to talk about how that value-based language can be applied in the sales process to dramatically increase revenues and, again, shorten the length of the sales cycle. Specifically, this process was invented as an experiment. I didn't know if it would work, but I decided I would try something in my own sales process with my own company to see if I could experience results. And it's designed to increase revenues up to 300%. Now, for a lot of corporate executives, they think this number is far too high and beyond their imagination, but I want to show you today how this becomes possible. According to Salesforce.com, I want to share a few statistics with you. For those of you that are running companies where you have specific dedicated sales teams and sales departments, what they revealed was that 67%, or in other words, 2 out of 3 sales professionals do not miss their quota. They do not hit their targets. Another 87% do not feel prepared for their appointment. So 9 out of 10 roughly are going in on sales appointments, trying to win new clients for your company and not feeling prepared. Of course, you can understand the challenges that brings. And this is the worst one of them all, in my opinion, is that 66% of customers revealed that they feel turned off by the salesperson's presentation. And this is a problem. This also damages your brand and your reputation in the marketplace, and we wanted to find a cure to that. Now, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, said, "The ability to sell is the #1 skill in business. Not the number 2, not the number 3, but the number 1. And so this is where I see a lot of companies focusing their energies and unfortunately sometimes not getting the results that you wish you would receive in the sales process. And why I found that was there was a terrible mistake that's being made in sales. Matter of fact, there's a myth out there that sales is a numbers game. Now, for fun, how many of you have ever heard that sales is a numbers game? Have you heard that before? Okay, so that's the majority of us. What I found is that this was one of the great lies told in the sales process. And this may seem very controversial. What they tell salespeople to believe is that in order to get more yeses, you have to get more what? more no's. And it's the same answer no matter what audience I'm speaking in front of. All over the world, the answer is always the same. In order to get more yeses, you have to get more no's. What if I told you today that that wasn't true? What if to get more yeses, you actually have to get more yeses? See? It seems like it's obvious and it makes sense once you hear it. So I began a journey with trying to figure out, how could I get more yeses instead of more no's? And if this process worked for me, could it work for other people? And this is when I discovered the secret. If you're taking notes, or mental notes even, I want you to write down that sales is not a numbers game. So then what is it? Sales is a people game. And the better you get with people and understanding people more than sales processes or sales techniques or tactics, the more money you're actually going to make, the longer you retain the client, the lifetime value of the client goes up, and you're able to retain your most important capital, which is your human capital and your employee base in your company. Now, Brian Tracy, world famous author, he said, all business is a people business. And I found that to be true. And then I came across this saying in the movie Pay It Forward. It said, is it possible for one idea to change the world? How many of you think it's possible one idea can change the world? And you're meeting a lot of the speakers that are up here whose ideas have changed the world. For example, Eric Ries's idea on how to lead lean is changing the business world. Or Seth Godin's concepts are changing the world. I have read his books. I love his work. Steve Wozniak, if we're holding devices in our hands or in our pockets that were made by his incredible ideas, those ideas have changed the world. Today, I want to introduce to you another idea that could change your world, and that's a four-letter word I'm going to call bank. Now, this bank concept was the genesis of the idea of BUYology, that buying behavior could actually alter in the sales process. And I want to, as you look up here at the screens, I want to show you a before and after of without using it in the sales process and then with using it and what happened for me personally. After getting involved in the sales, and I worked in a model where I was commission only. I didn't receive any type of salary, base, or draw. So I only got paid when I closed a sale. My first year, I was terrible at it. I made $700 US the entire year. Okay, I was the worst salesperson on the team, and the only reason they didn't fire me was because I didn't quit. And so for 5 years, I wanted to really figure out how to get good at this. And I studied every sales training program I could find. I read the books and I attended seminars like this. I took a lot of notes. I hired coaches and mentors and paid them a lot of money that I didn't have. And I did see progress. My income went from $700 to $72,000. But that wasn't the type of income I was looking to earn. I was looking for a lot more than that. And so was the company that was having me on the team. And so what happened for me was I realized something was broken in the sales process. And I wasn't sure whether it was me that was broken or perhaps it was the sales system itself that I was being trained on. Yet the same system was being trained across almost every different company. Once I discovered the missing link, and in my opinion, this was the greatest missing link ever discovered for me in the history of sales, I applied a technique that altered everything. Essentially, I reverse engineered the sales process, and I discovered BUYology, the science of buying behavior. Once I implemented this for myself, my income jumped the very following year to over $500,000. This was my income. The retail sales that generated was much higher than that. So I experienced a 695% jump, and within a 3-year period, my income personally was now over $1 million US per year. And suddenly, everyone that knew me wanted to know if it was possible that I could transfer this skill set and this methodology to them. I started getting asked to speak on stages all over the world, literally almost every continent out there, teaching this revolutionary methodology. And it was so fascinating, the results that people were getting, that I was invited to come speak and teach at Harvard University because of this concept. Now, the idea is, companies are spending thousands of hours and millions of dollars trying to teach people how to sell and how to go win that client and have customer acquisition, instead of investing in the only thing that really impacted the bottom line, which is, why does your customer buy? What has them pull the trigger that creates a yes versus a no? And could we actually lead lean? So if this is the theme of the conference, how do you lead lean in client acquisition? How do you reduce and shorten the length of the sales cycle? How do you reduce the amount of marketing and advertising dollars that are being spent and still win more customers and keep customers for longer? How do you grow and expand the referral base so that your company is growing by word of mouth from your own customers that are happy with your products and services? So this is the idea that I wanted to bring to the Nordic Business Forum. And again, it's kind of traveled virally through a lot of different professional groups. Harvard University brought me in 2013 to teach and lecture on this. And I said, why did you bring me here? I mean, there's a lot of smart people. I didn't go to Harvard. They said, we brought you here because what you invented, no one in the history of the world has invented. The twist on personality science that you've applied is genius. In 2014, the University at Berkeley brought me in to train their entire MBA alumni network. And in 2016, San Francisco State University, they wanted to test whether or not this theory was true. Does it work? Is it scientifically validated? And I'm really proud of this. I brought a copy. They published our company's first white paper. And in 2016, they were able to say that BANK is the only methodology in the world scientifically validated to predict buying behavior in less than 90 seconds. So I brought a copy of the white paper for those of you that would like a copy and would like to see the research behind how this could apply to your sales process. Let me explain how this works. It works so consistently every single time, no matter what country or culture you're in. It's not just exclusive to the United States, for example, because it's based in science. Specifically, the type of science that I use to build this process is something that we call personality science. Now, personality science actually dates back thousands of years to Hippocrates, the father of medicine. And what he discovered in the 4th century BC was that he could take the entire human race, divide you into 4 different groups, and based on which group you were assigned to, he could treat you differently with medicine. He called this theory the theory of the 4 temperaments. Now, when you fast forward to today's modern business world, there's been a lot of different companies who have built some form of a personality typing assessment so that you could figure out which one you are. Some of the more popular ones might be the DISC, D-I-S-C, or the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Over here in Europe, some of the more popular ones might be Insights or Management Drives. But for fun, and by show of hands, how many of you have ever taken a personality type assessment? Raise your hand and then look around the room. Okay, thank you. It's usually close to 100% of us. Now, why we take these things is because we're originally fascinated with the study of whom? Ourselves, right? And so the employers ask us to take these when we're onboarding on the company, et cetera, et cetera. And at first I was fascinated, just like you, to get a 40-page report that told me everything about me. It's cool. But my fascination turned into frustration when I realized that not one single one of these personality profiling instruments ever made me more money. Not one of them ever helped me improve my sales. None of them helped me get a yes versus a no with the customer. And that's when the idea occurred to me, and I said, wait a minute. If it's been proven for thousands of years that people are different, I wonder if they make buying decisions differently. How many of you think that's possible? Yes. And this was the discovery of the missing link. Now, the missing link is what I call BUYology. Again, the science of buying behavior. If, in fact, there's 4 different types of people, what has one person say yes to engage with your company, to move forward with the proposal, to join your team, is the exact thing that would make another person say no. So what we've identified is that there's more than 300 triggers and tripwires that make or break the sale and the sales process. And by the way, the Cheri Group, which is a growth play company, they did a huge research on this very one thing, on personality styling, and does it impact the sales process and the buying behavior? And what they published was astonishing. What they said is that only 18% of customers will buy from a salesperson who does not match their personality type, versus 82% of the yeses that your company is bringing in, impacting the bottom line, happens when the personality type matches that of the buyer. So how do we create that match and get it right every single time became my life's passion. What I ended up finding and developing was a system. Now, system is an acronym. If you've never heard of this acronym, I encourage you to write it down because it will help you lead lean. It stands for Save Yourself Time, Energy, and Money. Is that a good acronym? It's a great acronym. I wanted to save myself time, energy, and money, and imagine multiplying this across your entire sales departments, and then this actually has a much greater impact than just the sales channel alone. It impacts marketing, leadership, management, hiring, everything. The fact that people are different, and what makes one say yes makes another person say no. So the journey that I'd love to invite you to go on as you attempt to lead lean in 2018 and increase your company's profitability and revenue is to start cracking the personality code and taking it to the bank, meaning your bank. Now, bank is a play on words that represents my iteration of the 4 personality types based in buying behavior. So I want to give you a quick introduction. The B in bank stands for blueprint. This would be your customer who's very conservative inside the box. They don't make irrational decisions. They don't do anything spontaneous. They're very inside the box. Versus the action, the A in bank stands for action. These are what I would consider your movers and shakers and millionaire makers. They want to make big things happen. They have a very entrepreneur spirit. They're outside the box. The N in bank stands for nurturing. These are the ones that would recycle the box. Okay, so they are very relationship focused, and the currency that they trade in is not financial currency, it's actually relationship currency. They're amazing and incredible with people. But unfortunately, a lot of companies underestimate this currency in the marketplace. And the last piece of the bank system is K, which stands for knowledge. The knowledge personality type is yet a 4th and different type of buyer. They're the ones that engineer the box. So when you heard Eric up here on stage speaking of GE and all of his references to the engineers, many of them would be classified as the K or the knowledge. Now, the bank system of basically determining BUYology is to realize that your customer, your target market, is not just one of the 4. They're actually a combination of all 4, and that's what creates your bank code. Now, if you think of a bank code like a PIN code to your debit card, if you pull out a debit card and go put it into the ATM machine, in the US, we're required to enter a 4-digit PIN code, and we have to enter that PIN code in the exact sequence in order for money to come out. Your customer is the same exact way. If you want money to come out in the form of a transaction, a business negotiation, and moving forward and getting that yes, then you must deliver every part of your sales presentation and marketing and advertising according to their bank code. So when I realized that every customer was a part blueprint, part action, part nurturing, and part knowledge, is when I realized how many different codes are there, and there's actually 24. So when you think of your customer base and you're building your marketing messages and you're deploying your sales teams, what most companies are doing is they're telling the sales department to go out there and deliver the same presentation over and over and over and expect to win more business when in fact they're only getting more failure. They're getting more no's and more rejection. They're wasting a lot of dollars that they don't need to. So having 24 different codes out there, what it told me personally as I was developing and innovating this system was that as a sales professional, you have a 1 in 24 chance of saying the right thing to win the customer. That leads to roughly a 4% chance. And those odds are not good. What that means is that you have a 96% probability of getting a no or a stall in the sales process, which costs time and money. So I was looking for a way that I could crack essentially the personality code in less than 90 seconds. And this became something that was a game changer because once I learned how to crack this code in less than 90 seconds, I then learned how to modify everything about my engagement with the customer based on their values. The challenge is their values are totally invisible. Nobody types them up and publishes them and hands them to the sales teams and say, sell to me according to this list. But what I knew was that their buying behavior and their decision-making process in order to move that customer forward was based in this set of values. So our technology was able to find a way where we could crack someone's code in less than 90 seconds. And actually, I would love to invite you to participate and do this process with me. How many of you would like to see how to crack your code in less than 90 seconds? Okay, so I brought a gift for you. And what I'm going to ask you to do is pull out your cell phones and go ahead and type in the domain name, mybankcode.com, right on your device, mybankcode.com/Regim. /Regim. And what you'll see is right here on the technology, you'll be able to actually see 4 different cards. And this is a fun way of doing it, is I had created 4 little cards that I could hand to my clients in a face-to-face interaction. You have the digital version. So you're gonna see based on the 4 personality types, because you are a combination of all 4, the key is what is your sequence? Take each of these images on your phone and drag and drop them in the order of your preference, the one that's most like you to least like you, and when you're done, click submit. Once you click submit, you'll be able to fill out a quick little form, and our system will email you a report that tells you exactly who you are based on your bank code. Lastly, the cool thing is when a company deploys this methodology across their sales teams, you'll also be able to capture the data of your potential clients, and our system will let you know exactly how to communicate, negotiate, and close the sale based on that exact bank code. And now you have the data, the processes, and all of the tools in order to communicate differently with your clients. So BUYology is understanding that clients are different. There's 24 different codes. There's 24 different ways that customers get to a yes. And when you train this across your entire company, you'll be able to experience a lot more positive results, far more revenue, and a much happier experience onboarding customers internally and externally in your department. I hope that this brought you some value. If you're interested in the book is called Why They Buy, and you can get that at whytheybuy.com. If you click submit, we're going to send you a complimentary report that tells you all about yourself. And if you'd like to come talk to us at the break, we're happy to answer your questions and tell you a little bit more about how to leverage this innovative strategy so that you get trained on this before your competition does. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Cheri Tree. Great.